welcome. I'm your host, Henri Arslanian, and welcome to this other episode of your Future Money podcast. The show really will go in depth in some of the big topics happening in the crypto community. And today I'm very excited to be joined by my good friend, Pascal Gauthier, the CEO of Ledger, to really talk about the latest trends that we are seeing in the field of hardware wallets, on self-custody, and the broader industry as a whole. Pascal, great to have you with us on the show.
Great to be here with you, Henri. Thank you for having me.
Fun fact about Pascal, I think many people know you as a chairman and CEO of Ledger, but interesting fact about you, by the way. First, I know you're a backcountry skier, and second is you have a restaurant in Paris. And another fun fact I learned recently that you were until recently one of the few French entrepreneurs with $2 billion companies under your belt. That's a pretty big mix of achievements in a short time.
Thank you. Actually, I think I was the only one to have two, and then now I think we're two now, and I'm sad and I'm happy and sad at the same time. I'm sad to lose the title, or what I think is my title, but I'm happy because the second guy is actually my friend Nicolas, who I used to be with at Criteo, one of the founders at Criteo, who has his new startup now and made it $1 billion company. So I'm very happy that he joined the club of like two timers unicorn. We breeding herds of unicorns. Voilà.
There you go. The first time maybe luck, but the second time that's whether it's talent, skill, or craziness. Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, do it once you're lucky. Do it twice you're good. We'll see. Look, we still have to do a lot of things with Ledger, so this is not over yet.
Pascal, what's your restaurant in Paris? It was in the Marais, I think you told me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so I did that. So the restaurant is actually tied to crypto. Because I started my crypto company, Kaiko, it's a data company, back in 2014. Almost Soubiran now is running the company. But in 2014, there was not much to do in crypto. Like, I'm not a coder, you see, so I couldn't code. So what was I going to do? So I decided, it was a friend of mine, that we're going to do our restaurants. Like, we talked about that for ages with my friend Philippe, and we decided to do it. And so I could do it because I didn't have so much to do in crypto. And so I built the restaurant in Parada, and so voila.
And the restaurant is still going. That's going there. It's still there, right?
Oh yeah. So the restaurant has been going for 8 years now, because we didn't start it right away in 2014. It was more like 15, and I think we opened in 16 or something like that. It's been going on for a long time. It's a good success. It's very nice, and it's been the home of like many crypto parties.
Well, what's it called? Here we're going free plugging of your restaurant on the Future of Money.
Istre, ISTR. So Americans will call it like Easter, maybe something like that. It means oysters in Brittany.
Oh, here we go. I love it. Well, Pascal, let's talk about, I know we can talk about food all day, but let's jump into crypto and a lot of topics I want to discuss with you today. But first of all, before we start, can you give a bit of update about yourself, about your background, and then maybe give us the what is Ledger? And then separate, I want to talk about Stax and some of the new developments, but it would be good to give the audience a bit of background on yourself, especially for those who are hearing you for the first time.
Yeah, I'm French. I was born and raised in Paris. And I sort of stumbled upon the internet in 2000. This is where and when I started my career. And then, it felt like at the time sort of building the internet, especially with online advertising. That was sort of my specialty, selling, banners, clicks, and online advertising, basically, marketing and direct marketing. And I've done that for until 2013. Between 2004 and 2008, I was at Yahoo, which was very lucky because at the time Yahoo was really the internet, and so I could learn sort of everything at Yahoo. And then I took that knowledge to a small company at the time called Criteo, and I helped the three founders to change the business model, pivot to an advertising business model, and we sort of invented the personalized retargeting, those annoying ads that follow you all around the web with the products that you might like. That's I claim that's our invention. And we certainly built like a category leader in that space. We went from Paris to having a team everywhere in the world. We had At the time of the IPO, it's the only French company actually that IPO in the past 20 years at the Nasdaq for between $2 and $3 billion at the time. So it was a big deal. The company was making billions in revenue, had a few thousand employees, etc., everywhere in the world. From Japan all the way to the United States and every country, in between. So it was a fantastic experience. And then from there, then I was, sort of soul searching and trying to figure out what to do next. And I stumbled upon Bitcoin in 2014. I met with Wences, who is the super famous Bitcoiner and the guy who did Zappo, and an amazing guy. And so he pitched Bitcoin to a group that I was with. And I was just like, okay, I get it, because Wences explained it like super well. And from there, I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And it reminded me a little bit of 2000 and the internet, like super, like early, even probably earlier, to be honest. But something where there was a lot of building to do and a lot of fun to have. And what really attracted me to Bitcoin and crypto is I thought this is where I would meet like the best people, like this is where the party would be. And actually, it was true then. It's still true today. If you go to a crypto conference, it's a real party. You go to a normal internet conference, the party is not there anymore. So voilà, so that's the story in a nutshell. And super happy to be here because the privilege to be here with you today come from that choice in 2014, and it was a good choice.
It's funny. I Wentz I think he's obviously a rock star in Argentina. I think he's often referred to as the Elon Musk of Argentina. I'm still quite amazed that I meet so many people in the broader tech world that often have not heard of him. And it's incredible the outsized impact he's had on crypto. I think many of the early founders of big public companies we know now in crypto, they got into the rabbit hole because of him. I mean, including you, right? So it's quite an interesting impact he's had. Huh?
Yeah, but I think he's a super guy. I mean, I don't know him that well, etc. But he's a super guy, super humble, etc. So, he does what he has to do. He doesn't brag about it, etc. Like he's a model to follow.
This episode is brought to you by ACX Compliance, your one-stop shop for all your crypto compliance needs in the UAE and beyond. From VARA licensing support to crypto compliance training and customized support, including crypto specialized transaction monitoring and SAR reporting filing support. ACX Compliance has over 200 crypto compliance professionals that are 100% trained in crypto and 100% focused on the crypto industry. If you're looking for a one-stop shop to really help you with all your crypto compliance needs, think ACX Compliance. Find out more at www.acxcompliance.com. So can we talk about Ledger as well? To give us an update, I think many of our users will be familiar with the Nano. They heard about Ledger. But can you give me an update to our users as well? What is Ledger? And what are some of the latest developments going on with Ledger as a company? And then we can talk about the product as well.
Yeah. So Ledger is a security company at the heart. But for consumers and financial institutions, is the most secure and best way not only to keep your crypto assets safe, but to connect them to the internet and to transact with them. That's the way you should think about it. So from a consumer experience, what you end up with is a hardware wallet that connects to your phone or your computer. And on your phone and your computer, you have a software, Ledger Live, where you're going to do your transaction. So it's very similar to the experience that you had with the iPod and iTunes, for example. And interestingly enough, what people now need to have in mind is Ledger is always referred as the cold storage company, which is completely wrong, because cold storage is this idea that, if I keep my private keys offline, then I'm really safe, which is a fallacy, because then, okay, but what about doing a transaction now? Like if you bring them online, so then you're not safe. So of course you have to be safe all the time. And Ledger is now a service. It's a product and a service that allows you to keep your private keys safe when you don't use them, but also safe when you use them and you want to transact with them. And so we've developed through Ledger Live a whole range of services at the service of the user to be able to buy, sell, swap, stake, and sort of connect to any experience that you want to connect to any Web3 experience, blockchain experience, crypto experience, you call it how you want, that you want to connect to in the safest possible way. So that's on the consumer side, and on the enterprise side is exactly the same principle. And on the enterprise, maybe we'll talk about it later, but we just launched, or we will soon announce that we launch Ledger Enterprise TradeLink, which is an off-exchange trading network, which is again in this idea of you can use Ledger not just to keep your crypto safe when it doesn't move, but also when it moves and when you want to trade on exchanges without the money being on an exchange, but the money staying with your favorite or your few favorites regulated custodians.
That's interesting, actually. Maybe talk about this. I want to talk about Stax as well in a second. In this model, basically, this is for your enterprise sales. So how would it work in practice? So I'm able to keep my private keys and actually keep the assets safe while I'm interacting with various exchanges?
Yeah, 100%. So, with FTX, the problem was FTX was a very good exchange. You could, a very good trading platform. But the danger was coming from the counterparty risk of leaving your money on the exchange. And so a lot of financial institutions lost a lot of money because when the problem happened, the money was sort of stuck with the exchange. And actually, in crypto, you always have this where, the exchange also has the money, which is something that you don't find, in traditional finance. There is a segregation of duty where the money is with the regulated custodian, the exchange does the trade, etc. So what we're trying to replicate here is really the segregation of duty that happen in traditional finance, in a way that is 100% supported by pure technology, where actually Ledger doesn't interfere in the trade. We're just providing the security platform that helps with the trade. And so basically you have three parties. I'll give you the simple version, but you have people with the money, you have the regulated custodian, and you got the exchange. And basically the money goes into the regulated custodian. The regulated custodian has a link to the exchange through Ledger Enterprise. The link is super easy to install. It's an API call. And the money never leaves the regulated custodian, but on behalf of the customer, the regulated custodian can place trading orders on the exchange, and clearing and settlement happen on the platform. So it's really beautiful. It's something where we take zero, so we don't charge for this service. We take zero fees. So that's my main selling point. Like, we charge zero for this. And the business model is the same as we had before, which is our customers are regulated custodians, and they use Ledger technology in order to now also access this network. And regulated custodians don't have to run everything that they have on Ledger Enterprise. They can just use Ledger Enterprise to access the trading network for the funds that need to access the TradeLink network.
In this example, Pascal, like, who would sign the transaction? The person actually owns obviously the regulated custodian will have the API call going on with the various exchanges. But let's say to approve a transaction, do you need the end user to approve it, or everything will be done directly by the custodian because it's an enterprise model?
So the order will come from the money manager. Order will go to the regulated custodian. The regulated custodian will execute the order with the exchange. And again, Ledger has got nothing to do in that flow. We're just providing the tech that supports the flow. So at no time we are here to approve a transaction, etc. We are fully a technology platform, and even the contracts, we have a contract with the regulated custodian. We have a technology contract with the exchange that does the API call, but we don't have financial duties to this. And the financial contracts are between money, custodian, and exchange.
Yeah. And on this point, sorry, I want to talk about the retail offering in a second, but on this point, because we're on it, how do you believe the product will be different from some of the other offerings in the market? For example, Fireblocks and their own technology stack on this, or even Coinbase that has their new Web3 wallet. I forgot the name now. How do you position Ledger compared to some of the other offerings in the market on the enterprise side?
What's very difficult with crypto in general is that you have like many products, and they kind of look similar while being very different. And I think everything you just listed now are products that kind of look the same, but actually in the end are very different. Like, we do something that is very new that the market doesn't know how to do, because we can help someone that has money to use multiple custodians to actually bid on multiple exchanges. And actually, we are the only one able to do this. And of course, to do the clearing and settlement of exchange, and to charge zero fees. So when you add all of this together, nobody else can actually do this in the market. Everyone is either stuck in their own custodian, so they will say, off exchange maybe trading, but all the money goes into my custodian, so you don't have the choice of having multiple custodian. They will also say, and by the way, we charge you whatever bips per trade, and we charge zero, etc. So in the end, I think we are the most secure, most reliable, where we interfere the less with the business model of the trade because we charge zero, and where in the end the customer has more options in terms of what custody partner they want to use, and access to the most liquidity.
And this, I presume, works with all the big tokens. And I presume from a DeFi perspective, I know obviously the centralized exchanges, but how are you guys approaching DeFi, for example, on that perspective?
Well, so this is obviously a product aimed at centralized exchanges, right? Because the counterparty risk for a decentralized exchange doesn't exist in the same way. I mean, it doesn't exist because coins are, on chain. And so TradeLink is for centralized exchanges. To connect to DeFi, Ledger Enterprise has another range of services. And so so you can connect all of your DeFi to your Ledger Enterprise, should you want to, but I would say that's a different product set, or these are different features. Similarly, you can do your staking also sort of natively into Ledger Enterprise. So Ledger Enterprise is a security platform on top of which you can build, different verticals with different features, different products, depending on what is your strategy. Right now, TradeLink is really for those that trade on centralized exchanges that still hold like 90 to 95% of the everyday trading volume. So, and Binance must be like 80% of this, So we're really trying to address that issue. What happened in the past, post-FTX is like a lot of people are not trading on some exchanges anymore because they are afraid of that, number one, that counterparty risk, but also they're afraid of, what would the regulator would say if they knew that the coins were actually on the exchange. And, sometimes our industry, because it lacks regulation, sometimes you have an anticipation of regulation. And so therefore, you have a bunch of people not doing anything because they wait for regulation clarity. And so Ledger Enterprise TradeLink is an answer to this, which is to say, hey, you don't even need to wait for regulation, because when regulation hit, this is exactly what they would want. And so we unlock a lot of potential, and we're talking with a lot of liquidity partners, and they say, but okay, what kind of volume are you going to bring us? And the kind of volume that we bring to one specific partner, we're talking between $2 and $5 billion of assets to be traded on their platform. So we're talking big money because it's unlocking really big potential.
Absolutely. And can you share maybe more? I seen recently there was an announcement where I think many of us have been in crypto for a long time. We know the Ledger Nanos, but obviously you guys have launched Ledger Stax. Can you maybe share about what Stax is and how is it different from the previous models of Ledger Nanos that many people may be familiar with?
Yeah, 100%. So look, I bet that your phone today looks very different from your phone in the year 2000. And the reason why is because software evolves very quickly. What you can do with blockchain today is very different from what you could do with blockchain in 2014 or 2008. And so therefore, it is very normal that the hardware part has to evolve also with the software and with the way that people use their crypto. And so the last product that we released, I think, was sort of, 18, 19, Nano X, Nano S Plus, and that was an evolution of the Nano S. So everybody, I think, on your podcast knows this product, but for the people who don't know, this is This is quite a revolutionary product. It looks like a USB stick. It is not a USB stick. It is something with real security inside that helps you, again, protect your keys when they're not moving and protect your keys when you want to do a transaction. And these products are great today still, and we highly recommend them. But some of our customers were asking for more, and also usage are a bit different now. Most of what it is really people were asking for a bigger screen, because on the Nano X, it is true that the screen is rather small, and so if you don't see well, for example, this is a difficulty. But also, as you know, we went into the smart contract era. We went into transactions that are more complex every day, etc. So you actually need more space just to display the one transaction, so you know what you sign. What's very important to understand in crypto is if you don't know what you sign, you're at risk. Blind signing is a problem. Nobody should do blind signing. People do blind signing because they sacrifice security for convenience. We support blind signing in the sense that our customers are asking for us to enable blind signing. We think it's wrong from a security standpoint, but we also want to indulge our customers. However, we are pushing clear signing, and typically with Stax, this is one push towards clear signing. So our users, the people that we're trying to protect, we protect them every time. And so you should be able at some point to clear sign every transaction. The transaction getting more complex, you need a bigger screen. And what we really did with Stax, we really worked on UX and UI. And really work on the product. One of the problem of a young industry is it's usually very techy, and it's very normal. Yeah. Like when industries are born, they're born because thanks to engineers, and so the first draft of the industry is highly technical, and so just like the internet in '95 or '92, like only highly technical people or geeky people could really understand, connect, etc., etc. But mass adoption comes when all of this is productized in a way that general population can actually understand what the product is for and understand how to use it in a very simple manner. So Stax is really a stab at this. We try to do a product that is more for the mass. Still, the best products, period, in the market right now for everyone, even the tech, even the geeky, etc., no problem. But also appealing for the mass, where certainly, the onboarding, which is a big problem for crypto, how do you deal with your 24 words? All of this has been super streamlined into, onboarding people into self-custody.
I'm keen to use it. I would say like one of the problems I would say even as a user previously is always the transaction, even the address would never fit on one screen in the old Ledger. You have to see it. It's complicated. I always give the analogy that my mom, who's, by the way, my biggest fan of all my podcasts, watches all my episodes. I don't think she understands anything we talk about, but I should never be able to use a Ledger, but she's keen to learn more about crypto, so it's very interesting on Stax, and I look forward to experimenting with it. Pascal, I want to ask you mentioned
Henri,
something.
I think I gave you a Stax, no?
Not yet. So I'd love to try one.
Okay.
I'd love to try one.
I need to fix that. I was 100% sure. I was 100% sure I gave you one. You see? Okay.
I'll try one. No worries. And we'll give you the feedback as well.
I'm sorry. You need to have one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you brought something that is, I think, very important, which, I think about a lot, is you mentioned, obviously, the debate between security and convenience and user experience. When you look at the future of crypto, let's say 5 years from now, where do you think that midpoint would be the right perfect mix? Or do you believe there will be different composition of security and convenience depending of the audience you're targeting?
Well, I would say right now the market is asking users to compromise. Say, hey, if you want real convenience, you have to compromise on security. If you want full security, you have to compromise on convenience, etc. I think where the market is going is to a point where Ledger will be able to build a product where you won't have to compromise either on security nor on convenience. It will be a product that is both secure and convenient. I think Ledger Stax is almost almost there. And
Interesting.
and I think that the next versions of Stacks will be even better. And at some point, you're going to have a device that works extremely conveniently while being more secure than your phone. Actually, because people sometimes say to me, "Oh, Ledger is very hard to use." I say, "Well, I'm not sure actually." When I use Ledger, I think it's even the Nano X today. I think it's actually quite easy to use, but it depends what you compare it to. If you compare using Clash of Clans on your phone, yeah, okay, maybe Stacks and Nano X are a little harder to use. Now think about using something that has to be secure on your phone. You need 2FAs, you need like a bunch of stuff. It's not super easy to connect. If you want to set up an account on an exchange, you need to do a KYC. I mean, you need to do a lot of things that slow you down, that are actually quite cumbersome, etc. And so it's sometimes not very easy. I was actually having a discussion with someone from the industry who went from Coinbase custody or Coinbase Prime to Ledger. They had 100% of their coins on Coinbase Prime, and then they did 50-50 using Ledger. And they was actually quite shocked to find out that Ledger was easier to use. To use Coinbase Prime is not that easy to use, and not to, probably Coinbase can do better on this or that. But the thing is, if you want to bring security in your Coinbase Prime, you need to do several checks. You need to have 2FAs. You need to ask for people IDs, etc. You need to do all these things to bring security, and security has an impact on convenience. So I think what we're really trying to do for a consumer is a self-custody model that brings you absolute security, even with the 24 words and with Ledger Recover and those kind of things, where we protect you against yourself, because we do get those messages of, I lost my Ledger and my 24 words. What do I do now? So if you have a backup like Ledger Recover, like we're trying to solve that problem for these people. And so if we have to protect you against yourself, we have to make it super convenient. Again, use the Stacks, and for people, get one as soon as we're ready to ship after pre-orders. We should be anytime soon now. And you really have to see it for yourself. Like, it's super easy to use now.
And when you talk about the future of custody, right? Obviously, you mentioned the having a hardware wallet and the importance of it from a security perspective, and I get that. But when you think about again the future of custody, do you believe that really we will be using a physical wallet, whether it's our phone or a Ledger Stax or whatever it is, to basically hold our digital assets? Or there'll be the compromise where people will do it using some of these software custody models are out there. Yes, you may need to do 2FA. Yes, maybe there's Google Authenticator and there's different security mechanisms. But at least for a lot of people, the risk of losing the private keys is something that they're more afraid of than actually the holding their private keys.
Yeah, so look, there are two models that were always there is custody and self-custody. So either you trust someone with your private keys or you keep your private keys. And there are many shades of gray in the middle. It's like, I can share some of my key with you, etc., etc. And then it's all about, compromise and what you want to do. I think that cryptocurrency exists, Bitcoin exists only because if it's in self-custody. If it's to be in custody, there is no point to the model. It's a peer-to-peer payment network. And so if you cannot be peer-to-peer, if you don't own your private keys, what's the point of Bitcoin? I mean, and it's not even like a philosophical reasoning that I'm doing now. It's a pure, practical, technical, this is how it works. Now, in the future, I think people will hold a bunch of crypto assets, a bunch of digital assets. And then the question is, will everything be in self-custody, or will you have some in custody, others in self-custody, etc.? Okay, so probably be both. You need services for some things. If you have a lot of wealth in Bitcoin, maybe you put some at the bank, maybe you keep some yourself. There are many ways of doing this. But the important thing to know is, in the future, people have now the choice. Before, digital assets were necessarily in custody of someone, either it's a bank, either it's Google, Apple, etc. Now you have an option to keep them in self-custody. Now, when you think about keeping them in self-custody, the question becomes, okay, well, do I need a hardware? So I give you the short answer, it's yes. There's no other way than having secure hardware to secure your digital assets, your coins, and everything that is in your digital life and that you want to secure. Your phone today, your phone and computer are not good hardware, not good security hardware to secure this. Why? Because you can attack them from the operating system, and as soon as you're in the operating system, everything that runs on top of the operating system, which is everything, is by definition unsecure. And so therefore you cannot leave everything on your phone or your computer. So now if it's real self-custody, it means, where are the private keys, etc. You need to have a hardware wallet. Now there is something coming our way, which is account abstraction. And so in your question, maybe you also refer to this to say, hey, but there is this account abstraction thing that might indicate that actually you don't need hardware anymore because now everything is software. So again, it's a question of compromise. So first of all, you cannot run every coin, you cannot run really Bitcoin today in account abstraction. Account abstraction is mainly for Ethereum. There are other technologies that are similar to account abstraction that can do a little bit more, a little bit less, etc. But you always have a compromise on usability. Now, if you want the world of what you can do with Ledger today, it's like, I want all my coins, I want to be able to do everything, I want to be able to connect with everything, etc. There is no other way than Ledger and secure hardware. Everything else is a compromise on what you can do. The Coinbase wallet that you're referring to, that has done some account abstraction on Base, their Coinbase layer 2, that's all good and well, but it's a subset of what you can do with crypto. It's very limited in terms of the application that you can run on top of that. It's good, etc. And also, when it comes to account abstraction, final point, you sort of need like a source of trust, because an account abstraction is basically a contract that says that you can only do certain things with your coins, and so therefore, like it's hard to hack. But how do you define the contract? And how do you sign the definition of that contract? So with that, you still need some secure hardware at the beginning to define the contract. And finally, even if you run an account abstraction well-defined with a hardware at the beginning, with set of rules, etc., and you still run this on your phone or your computer, you, in the end, have something that's called man-in-the-middle attack, which means that you cannot trust what is on the screen of your phone. You cannot trust what is on the screen of your computer. Therefore, you don't really know where you're sending the coins. And even with an account abstraction, you will be blind signing the shit of everything. And so blind signing is something really crazy. It's like every time you blind sign something, you're like, you press the button and you hope that your coins arrive, at the rightful destination.
Yeah. Do you mind, actually, for the benefit of our audience, maybe just giving a quick summary of what is account abstraction and the role that smart contracts play instead of maybe private keys? Just maybe the 1 minute summary. So I want to make sure everybody's on top of it on that perspective.
Yeah, sorry. So you see, this is a problem with security. Like every time you want to have a discussion, you need to, go down the rabbit hole, and it gets very complex, etc. Net, the best solution that is the most secure, that gives you real self-custody on every coin, etc., is hardware wallets today, and is Ledger and Ledger Stax is sort of number one. So that's my answer. And now, when it comes to account abstraction, account abstraction is this idea of having a wallet where rules are preset, and so the wallets cannot do anything else but the rules that have been defined for the wallet, which limit the possibility of hacking the wallet on the phone to have the wallet do something else, because then it becomes impossible, because the wallet is sort of structured to do like a certain kind of functions. But again, the one thing that the wallet still cannot do is fight the man-in-the-middle attack, meaning that even if the rules are structured, as soon as you type an address or whatever you see on your phone, you're not really sure that it's true, so you don't really know where the coins will end, and that's the big problem.
Yeah, a lot of interest. I think for interested readers, there's a lot of information on this online they can find about account abstraction and the role of smart contracts. Pascal, one last question before we move on to a fire round question. It's something I've been wondering for a long time. How come today, when I look at my iPhone, for example, how come companies like Apple haven't come up with their own, hardware custody? I mean, when you think about your biggest competitor, don't you think that like these phone companies could be the ones offering hardware wallets at scale? And this could be big adoption and a potential big competitor to Ledger as well.
Well, I got two letters to answer that question. AI. I think Apple is busier trying to figure out like what to do with AI on their phones than building a hardware wallet, which seems to be like a niche category for them compared to having all their phones AI enabled. And Apple is trying to solve very big problems already. Not to say that what we're solving is not a big problem. It is a big problem, but it's still a very niche activity in a sense that, when you think about the people that are crypto holders, we say that there are 500, 600 billion on the planet. Most of these people have their wealth on an exchange, which is something that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't take that risk. If you trade, sure, put your money on the exchange. Except if you're a financial institution, now use TradeLink. But if you're an individual, put your money in the exchange, trade, and as soon as the trade is over, move your money back to the security of your ledger. But right now, most people actually leave their money on an exchange. That's number one. There is a subset of people that actually hold their private keys. But when you start to looking at by addresses and see the wealth that they have per addresses, you will find that there are 20 million, if I'm very generous, like 25 million people that have like real wealth on an address, which means like more than $1,000. It's not a lot of people. So right now, actually, the market is still very niche. We sold 7 million devices now. So it's a lot of devices for us. It's very nothing for Apple. Apple sells 250 million iPhones a year, 160 million AirPods a year, 45 million Apple Watch a year. So look, and so that's that. And also technologically speaking, like what we do is fairly complex because what you have in terms of security is not just the secure element; it's the operating system that you run into it, and that is proprietary to Ledger. And the operating systems start to be very complex because when you want to support just Bitcoin, that's easy enough. If you support Bitcoin and everything else, it starts to become very complex. And the operations that we have just to make the operating system is really becoming a product at Ledger right now. And it's just saying, you talk about iOS, you talk about Android. Soon we will rebrand our operating system with a good name. But this is one of the main products at Ledger, which is the operating system. So that's, even for Apple, that's not easy to do. Apple can do anything they want, okay? They have the money. If they want to do this, they'll do it. Still, it's not an easy problem to solve. And then there is a problem like, if you, let's say you lose your crypto and you have your Apple hardware wallet in your Apple and something happened to your crypto, then you turn to Apple. Do you think Apple want that kind of fire? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting what you mentioned. What we often think crypto, the world turns around the crypto ecosystem, but actually there's so many other things going on. AI is one of them you mentioned, which we live. I think sometimes even myself, I have to bring myself back to reality, saying actually nobody cares about crypto except losers like us who are in it. So it's a very interesting on that perspective. One last question, Pascal, does nothing to do with crypto, but it's about France. I know when people think about, let's say, big Web3 companies in France, Ledger would be one of them that will pop up. We've been recently seeing a revival of the French ecosystem in the sense that obviously companies like yours have been growing. So I was reading about Mistral in the AI field, and others have been going with the Olympics now in Paris. What's your view in Paris, let's say France, as a tech, and not only crypto, but tech ecosystem of the future? And let's be honest.
Well, I mean, TBD, because, in the past 20 years, like I said, only crypto went public at the Nasdaq. So, and if you look at the French ecosystem in terms of exits, who had like a full exit for billions of dollars, etc., like not many companies. So if raising money, running a good business, etc., a bunch of companies have done, but full exits, successful exit, or even, become even better, like becoming the 100-pound gorilla and starting to acquire other companies. Nobody has managed to actually do this. So I would say, the ecosystem is here. It's better than what it has been, but it still has a lot to achieve. I was actually checking the market cap of SAP the other day. Do you know the market cap of SAP? So I think, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's $250 billion. So actually, it's pretty good. And when I checked, I remember checking this in 2008 or 2010 or something like that. When I was still at Criteo, it was 50 billion. So actually, the SAP market cap like grew a lot between in the past 10, 12 years. But SAP is the only, like, I would say, Web 1 company that that sort of still exists in Europe, and that is one of the juggernauts, and that has like M&A funds and that acquires companies, etc., etc. Like Europe in general and France, we've not been very good at building the big companies, the Google of the world. So, is France going to build one in the next 20 years? I surely hope so. I surely hope Ledger is going to be that one, or at least sort of one of them. We have amazing engineers in France. I think this is what you see with Pascal, which is the quantum company. I think this is what you see with Mistral and AI, because French engineers have always been the top of the sword. But the problem with French engineering is sometimes it builds amazing technology, amazing products, but we don't know how to market and sell them. And sometimes you lose to inferior technology products that have better marketing and salesmanship. What I'm trying to fix with Ledger is to bring the best of the French engineers. And typically when it comes to secure hardware, that whole security industry is really a French excellence in terms of engineering. And it's been proven in the past by other companies like Thales, Gemalto, Idemia, etc., etc. So we're taking from that excellence, taking from this technology and then upgrading them to these new worlds of sort of blockchain technology, but also trying to bring what is best in terms of marketing and sales, and with people like Ian Rogers, etc. Coming from like real storytellers, like people that know how to build a brand, tell a story, etc. And make Ledger like a global brand and a global category leader. That's what we're trying to do. So if you take the best everywhere you can find them, and you bring them together to build a global company, I think this is how it works. And I think this is typically the path that Ledger is on. Execution is extremely difficult. Whether we succeed or not in the future is TBD. We'll see. We're going to do our best. We think this is the right strategy, but future will tell, and customers will decide. And for other companies, I think they start with the best engineers. Now, Pascal is very fresh. Pascal is very fresh. Mistral is very fresh. And honestly, Mistral, is the name of a wind in France. So I wish them luck. I wish them luck to all of them. And I hope that they transform what is technology into product and product into sales,
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're so right. I've met so many amazing French engineers over the years. In fact, also a lot of them go into finance, right, from derivatives and others. And I think it's what you mentioned is that sales element often is missing, but time will tell. Pascal, we time to go with our my regular round of questions. So I'm going to ask you quick questions. I need the 1 or 2 word answers, and we're going to go through them pretty quickly. Hope you're ready.
Ready.
Let's do it. Pascal, what amazes you the most? What amazes you the most about the crypto industry?
Well, like I said before, I think the people are amazing. And sometimes too toxic, but even the toxicity, I find it, the paroxysm of humanity is like, it's so much emotion that is going into crypto that you have the best and the worst. And honestly, I take it all. Sometimes, people are unkind to me on X. But I think it's part of the game, and also I understand the emotion behind it. I understand the rage and the frustration, because when people are in crypto, they come with passion, and so I think to me this is what I like the most.
Let's continue. What is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
Nothing. I sleep super well. The only thing that keeps me up at night is my family. Want to make sure that they're all right. I fight for them. Good. The rest, I don't care.
What's your favorite thing to do on a weekend when you're not busy working on crypto?
Well, it depends. If I'm super tired, I really like to do nothing, and I love doing nothing. And but if I'm up for it, a weekend in Ibiza is great.
Here we go. Favorite restaurant. I know you're a restaurant owner, as you mentioned before, in Le Marais in Paris. If there's one restaurant you think is outside of yours that really is your favorite globally, which one is it?
But really, right now, I've got a coup de cœur for Langosteria in Paris. It's in the new Hotel Cheval Blanc, LVMH Hotel. Langosteria is an institution coming from Milan. It's an Italian restaurant, and the one that they have in Paris, I've never been to the one in Milan, but apparently I've been told that the one in Paris is even better. And to tell you the truth, it's really my favorite restaurant right now.
And Pascal, are you a good cook? And if yes, what's your favorite dish to cook?
I'm not sure I'm a good cook. I'm an okay cook. And I do eggs really well.
Eggs, really? Here we go. The simplicity
Yeah.
of it. What is the one crypto CEO that impresses you the most?
That's a great question. You know, there've been a few. Arthur Hayes has always been one of the smartest, I think. You know, very, very sharp. Uh, and also, you know, when you see Arthur, he's joking, like, you know, but he's very smart, very deep, understand crypto better than most. Arthur was always very impressive. We started with Wences, of course. Like I said, you know, I came to crypto because of the people. So you meet some of the, you know, brightest minds in crypto, and there are a lot. I could go on and on because there are a lot of people that I've
Yeah.
found in the years very impressive, including you, Henri. And I'm not just saying this. I mean it. And again, that's why I came to be with great people, impressive people, fun people.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's continue. I have to say, by the way, on Arthur Hayes, totally agree. I think people see him as a party guy, but actually, he's one of the smartest guys in the industry by a mile as well. Pascal, if there's one asset, one digital asset you can hold for the next 10 years and not be able to sell, what crypto asset would that be?
Bitcoin.
I could have betted that would be your answer. You're an avid skier. What's your favorite place to ski?
Tignes. So it's near Val d'Isère. It's the same valley. Tignes. Tijnes. Tignes. It's a fantastic resort, and it's my blessing and my doom. Like it's my blessing because it's so amazing to ski there, and it's my doom because then I don't want to ski anywhere else anymore. But you know,
You just mentioned before, best one of the favorite things to do is spending a weekend in Ibiza. What's the one thing about Ibiza people get wrong?
Ibiza people get wrong.
Yeah,
Too much healing, my friend. At some point, you got to stop healing. You know,
eating. You go.
healing. You know,
Um,
is a namaste part of Ibiza. Everybody's healing all the time, so it's good. But you know.
e- exactly. You mentioned before storytelling. What is the one company you think outside of Ledger that gets storytelling and crypto marketing right?
Look, I think Binance, to be honest, like,
Really?
yeah, I mean, you know, my father always said to me, still today says to me, only the results matter. If you look at Binance results, I mean, they're doing something right. Like, you know, it doesn't seem like that. Like you would look at Coinbase and be like, well, you know, better marketing, etc., great advertising, etc. I mean, Binance doesn't do much, but they got such a market share. So there is something that they do that is touching the communities, that is touching the people. People trust Binance, go on Binance, etc. There is something that they obviously do that makes them the best, and they're not like a little the best. Like they're the best. They're 10x the 10x the next guy. So
Yeah.
what they're doing is very, very impressive. And you know, sometimes you just need to look at the results, and the results tell you like who is the best. And also, everybody thought that they would go down after you know what happened with CZ, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't. They maintained market share. They lost a little bit, and then they grew their market share back, et cetera. It is quite crazy the velocity that this company has. It is insane the kind of money that they're making. Like you know, they don't disclose the numbers, but I think I know, and it's insane. Like you know, and already other companies are doing great. I mean, Coinbase is great. It's amazing. They have insane numbers.
Yeah.
Binance is more insane by a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It's incredible. I mean, depending of the week, and I mean, for anywhere from 75% of global volume, it's absolutely incredible on that
Incredible.
perspective. You mentioned X before, Twitter. If you had one piece of advice to Elon Musk regarding how to improve X, what would that be?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't dare because, Elon is the god of businessmen. So I would not dare giving him any advice. And also, I think what he's doing with X is really fantastic. So, no advice to, I would ask him for a piece of advice. I would say, I got nothing to say. Please, please tell me what I should do.
I love it. And finally, Pascal Ledger, the CEO of Ledger. Pascal, the typical question anybody comes on my show: if you could have lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive, lunch or dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, yeah. It's a very tough question. Dead or alive, lunch, I don't know. If I want to be a little pedantic, I would say, I don't know, I like to have dinner with Voltaire. He's a philosopher of
Voltaire.
philosopher of the 18th century. I think in the world that we live in, where everybody is going behind Rousseau and Malthus, I mean, this is really the philosophers that are influencing the World Economic Forum. I'm much more of a Voltaire type of guy, and Voltaire used to say, "I like my iron century. J'aime mon siècle de fer." I really like the time that we live in. I think people should read Voltaire. J'aime mon siècle de fer. La seule chose importante, c'est de cultiver son jardin. The only important thing is to take care of your garden, and to basically to work. So yeah, okay. If I had dinner, I would have dinner with Voltaire. It would be fascinating, I think.
We long dinner with a lot of bottles of wine, I'm sure, from that perspective.
Exactly.
Pascal, great to have you on the show. I think it was over now a year you haven't been on the show, so great to have you on. Where can people find out more about you, about Ledger and Stax, and some of the offerings you guys have?
Well, people can find me on X. Beware of people that impersonate me, but I've got like several check marks that make sure that it's my account, etc. So follow that one, not the others. Ledger.com, Ledger Academy, everything that we talked about in terms of the difference between hardware wallet, software wallet, account abstraction, etc. All of this is documented on Ledger Academy. Our CTO, Charles Guillemet, has wrote like a lot of papers about this. If you want to know about quantum computing attacking your ledger, again, we have a blog post about this. Like, we have so much content on Ledger, really. Anything you want to know, just check us out. That's my recommendation.
Amazing. Thank you, Pascal. Great. Thank you. Hopefully this was as you guys had enjoyed listening to this as much as I had. Very exciting developments. Make sure to also check out, guys, my YouTube page. A lot of interesting content there. And thank you very much once again for all your support of making this one of the best podcasts, not only on crypto, but really now that we're in the top 5% globally of all podcasts in Spotify. Thank you very much, everybody. And see you guys soon for another episode of the Future of Money podcast. See you guys soon.